Namaste, everyone. Good evening. I'm Harika here, and it's my pleasure to be here today with all of you. And first of all, I'd like to express my gratitude to my masters, my teachers, and founders of Quantum Life University, Dr. Newton and Dr. Lakshmi. And I'm eternally grateful to them. It's really an honor to be here at Quantum Life University, being a student and also being able to share whatever I have learned over here with all of you. So I thank you all for joining the class as well. I'm so glad that you are all here today. So today's topic you might have seen already. It's called Insights from the Work by Byron Katie. So the work is not the usual work that we do in offices or somewhere else. It's a tool. It's a tool for transformation. Every Sunday we have a meditation class. It's called Transformational Meditation Class from 5 to 6:30 p.m. on our YouTube channel. So every month we have a Telugu class, then English class, then Hindi class, again English class, and it rolls like that. So today is the English class, so I'll be speaking in English today. And I'm so honored once again for being able to share the wisdom of Byron Katie. She is one of the most inspirational person for me, and she's really helped me so much to gain a new perspective towards myself, life, thoughts, and all of that. So I would like to share some things with all of you that I have learned. First of all, about Byron Katie. Maybe some of you know about her, some of you have heard of her name, but still, there could be always people who don't know about her. So I'll start with whatever I know about her. So I'll share a little bit about her. So Byron Katie, at around in her late 40s, she went through a lot of depression. Actually, she was already in depression for a decade by then. Around 48 or so is when she found this work emerging from within her. So she was in depression for almost a decade, more than a decade. And then she was also overweight, overeating. She was very, very angry person. She didn't have a good life. Her children, neighbors, everyone used to be very scared of her because of her anger. And she was always so scared and fearful that she also used to have a gun with her whenever she was sleeping. So some kind of thoughts or negative thoughts and beliefs and things like that were probably bothering her a lot. So she was going through a very bad time at one phase in her life. And then she really wanted to get out of the situation. She was not able to move and do her own works well, for the physical aspect also, because she was overeating and not able to move much and all, and also because of her mind. So she just thought she'll go through some treatment. And for that she checked with her insurance company on her condition and what kind of treatment and which uh, what do you say, which hospital or a place, treatment center, would be covered in the insurance, so that she can get the financial support as well. So they suggested that they don't have anything exactly for her, but she can go to a place where people can be helped with their weight disorders, overeating disorders, etc. So it was called some Hope Center or something like that. Let me just check one moment. Yeah, Hope House. So they recommended her, referred her to Hope House. So at that point, she was known for her extreme anger and aggression. So other people in that center were not agreeing for her to join in. They were afraid that they could be harmed by her. But then finally she convinced them and she said, please, I would really need this treatment. And they agreed to keep her in a, what do you say, in a corner, attic, where nobody goes. And it was meant for actually things only, but she agreed to stay in that. And go through the treatment, whatever is required, because she was really in need for that. And she was in a dark room in a corner where nobody would visit, and her food was also kept outside and things like that because everyone was scared for. She was actually in a very, very bad position. Then one morning, she just woke up with a some sensation on her leg, and she just opened her eyes and saw a cockroach on her feet, on her leg. And that moment, she doesn't know what happened, but there was some kind of awakening that has happened within her. She doesn't call herself enlightened, or she doesn't call herself a guru or anything like that. um, but there was something changed, that has changed in her in that moment. She was able to see everything, look at everything with new eyes, as if a baby is freshly born. There were no thoughts, there were no judgments. Like when we look at something, we know it's a wall, it's a blue color, it's a floor, it's a chair. But there was nothing in her mind in that moment. From that moment onwards, it was like she was just so purely in the present moment, and it was just wonderful. The way she describes it in her book, you must all read it. Loving What is an amazing book. It's the bestseller. It's the first book she has authored along with her husband, and it's just the most amazing book. Everyone must read it. I have heard the audiobook through Audible, and you must listen to the audiobook. In fact, you can listen to her voice and the way she speaks, and how she actually helped millions of people. Some case studies are also there, and when you listen to it directly, it makes a lot of impact. It's beautiful. So she just had this kind of a awakening kind of feeling, and she was looking at the world with new eyes, new set of eyes. She didn't have a sense of I also, sense of me, who am I, kind of, it's like something is looking through me. I'm not looking, it's like I am looking is happening. I can't explain, of course. I don't know the feeling as well, but that's how she described. And it sounds really beautiful, really beautiful. After that, she says that she was not able to judge anymore. She was free from the beliefs. She was free from all those thoughts that were bothering her. And she developed, over a period of time, she developed this process called the work. Okay, now let me get back to the story. She went through this experience, and she just became this totally calm and peaceful and bright, vibrant person. But of course, it takes time for people to understand and accept that this is permanent, definitely. So they took some time. They were like, what happened to her? Is this also a phase? Even her children started feeling, is this also a phase, or is this permanent? How come my mom is so silent? She had three kids by then, and they were like not able to believe it at all, that their mother is so calm and quiet and peaceful, and she was smiling after going through so much. How the family members would be feeling, right? So that's how they've had their thoughts, their questions and doubts and all. But then she came back home, and her neighbors started coming. Until then, her neighbors and in that colony, people were not even coming close to their house, it seems. But after she went through this transformation, and she was just looking at everything with such peace and contentment and such beauty, that it automatically naturally attracts people. So they started peeping, they started wondering, how come she's so happy, and what is she happy for? How come she's so calm? How come we're not able to listen to her screamings and all? So gradually people started getting attracted to her, coming to her, visiting their house, and sitting and having a chat with her, talking to her and asking her. They started sharing their problems with her gradually, and she would just listen with an unconditional loving space. And when they would ask for suggestion, only then she would speak, and she would in turn ask them some questions. The work is made up of four questions and one turnaround. This is called the work. Four questions and one turnaround. I'll explain that to you in detail for sure. So, not to worry in case you don't know about it. And also, their website, Byron Katie's website, is thework.com, I suppose. You just Google search it and you'll find it. And everything about the work and how to do it, the worksheets, everything is available on their website for free of charge. So, if you would like to try it out after this class, which is 100% recommended, because we are here to transform our lives, and that's the reason you are attending this class, so which is going to be very helpful. So after you complete the class and today's meditation, you can go to her website and search for this worksheet and all. It's all available for free. You can help yourselves. So coming back to the subject, she would ask, she always says that our thoughts and believing our thoughts is what creates suffering. The root cause of suffering is believing your thoughts as if they are God's words. That is so true, isn't it? We believe each and every thought of ours. For example, if you feel that your husband doesn't listen to you, or your wife doesn't listen to you, or your children are very something, we have a lot of judgments, lot of statements against everybody, which we don't want to think, especially when we are into spiritual path. We don't want to think negative, so we just kind of suppress all of that. But actually, don't we think about it? Don't we get these thoughts? We all do, right? You can also put some thoughts of yours. She says judge your neighbor. The worksheet that you have to fill in on her website if you want to work on yourself is called judge your neighbor worksheet. You're like, oh, we're not supposed to judge, right? That's what we've learned in spirituality. How come you're asking us to judge? But then, by suppressing our judgments, are we going to help anybody? Are we going to be able to help ourselves? No, you cannot suppress and be helped. We have to first, that doesn't mean you have to express all your judgments onto others. We have to deal with it. We have judgments. When we have it, we have to accept the fact that you have it and then question it. It's not just a judgment, it's a thought. It doesn't come as a judgment. Oh, they don't listen to me, they don't bother. She doesn't love me, she doesn't care for me anymore, or she's angry at me because she's giving me that look. All these things are like assumptions, and many of them are not true. Maybe some of them sound to be true, but when you go through this work, you will understand how much of it is true and where exactly do we need to look at. Usually all these statements, I'll give you some examples, and I'll also be quoting in this class some parts of some statements from I am the way I am, and we are not able to understand that, we are not able to agree to it, stress is created. So this, I am going to repeat everything, Smitaji, thank you so much. So from the beginning, what I was saying is, whatever causes us stress is believing our thoughts. When you believe your thoughts, that creates stress, especially thoughts that are unreal, that are arguing with reality. This is a very important statement which she repeats again and again. Arguing with reality is what creates stress. When you argue with reality, you can't live in the present. We all know that we should live in the present, but we are not able to do it. Why is it so? But this thought of they should do this, they should approve, is what creates stress within us. So, other than the stress, is that going to help us in any way? All these thoughts that we are thinking? No. So, we need to question these thoughts. Is it true that my husband should agree with me? Is it true that she is not listening to me? Can we really know at any point in life, in time, that someone is listening to us or not listening to us? Can we know that? No, right? We can't. We cannot ever be sure. So we should always check with our thoughts before believing them to be like given by statements given by God or someone. We believe each and every thought that comes in our mind, but thoughts are like clouds. They come and go away. They come and go away. But some thoughts that keep coming become beliefs. They become strong core beliefs. And when the beliefs are formed, it takes a little more effort to change those beliefs, but it is not impossible. It's also possible, and we must always question our thoughts, question our beliefs, and work towards dealing with them and overcoming them. We should always think, is this thought giving me stress? Is this thought giving making me feel peaceful? So Byron Katie always says that whenever a thought is creating stress, that means it's not true. And I was like, oh, is that true? Is this so? She says, yeah, you question this also. Ask yourself, isn't it true? If a thought is creating stress in you, always question that thought. Most probably, it is not true. It's not a true thought. My mom doesn't love me because she didn't buy me certain gift. Let's say if this is the thought. Ask yourself: is this true? Is this true that she doesn't love you? So that's the first question. So when we now will gradually enter into the work, that is the main four questions and the turnaround. So most of the times we don't want to judge people, like I've shared this before also, but then we have to accept our judgments. We have to really look at our judgments and question them. We have to ask ourselves all the time, uh, how true is this? Do I believe it blindly, really, or should I question it? Should I think about it again? So let us get into the work. The work is mainly composed of four questions and one turnaround. The first question is this true? Now you can take anything, any thought that comes to you, okay, and ask yourself, is this true? Any judgment. So initially, when we are doing this work in the beginning, if you are new to the work, then we are requested to do it in relation with others. When you have a thought that, okay, this person should not behave like this, or this person should behave like this. So one example I mentioned earlier also, I wonder if you were able to hear or not, which is Katie always refers to this thought that she used to have, that my children should pick up their socks and put it in the laundry. So, are they doing it? Is this true that they should do it? The reality is they are not doing it. So, there's no point in arguing with reality and thinking this stressful thought. Okay, that doesn't mean we should give up. That doesn't mean we should be so disheartened or anything. It means we are just looking at reality the way it is. That's all. And then we ask the second question. Sometimes it could be yes also. Most of the times it's a no. Smitaji is asking, please start from judgment. So judgment, yeah. So I was saying, judge your neighbor worksheet. So Byron Katie, on her website, she has kept everything about the work available for everybody for free of charge. And there's a worksheet on how to do this work for ourselves, for our stressful thoughts. And this worksheet is called as Judge Your Neighbor Worksheet. Okay. And as people who are meditators and we are into spirituality and all, we keep thinking that, oh, I am not supposed to judge. How come you're asking me to judge? I should not judge, right? That's what I've learned in spirituality. But then, is that true? Aren't we judging? Aren't we judging a table as a table? Yeah, you may say you've named it, you're not judging it, but yes, you are. If there's a smell, don't we say this is a good smell, this is a bad smell? Judgments are everywhere. You name a being as a horse, one being as a pig. It's a judgment. I mean, it's like you are telling according to its shape, color, and everything. You are. It's not a negative judgment, but you are naming it, right? So that's also called as a judgment. So it's nothing wrong in having any judgments, but if a judgment is creating stress within you, then we should always think about it once again. We should always question these judgments. So initially, when we want to do the work, you should always write down your judgments. For example, you have a tough relationship with your mother-in-law or your husband or wife. Then write down all those judgments that you've got on them. What is it that you expect them to do? Maybe it's your children, anybody. What is it that you want them to do? What do you feel that they should be doing which they are not? They should understand me, they should listen to me, they should keep things neat. It may be true, it may be your genuine concern, but when you come and do the work, then you will understand what exactly is going on deep within you. Is it them who is the problem, or is it something else? We can understand that. So we'll just take an example of my husband should listen to me. Okay, let's say it is there for most of us, and even I get into this kind of thought trap and get very stressful many times, but we should always get back to the reality. So let's do this. The work consists of 4 questions, right? The first question is it true? When you say my husband or wife should listen to me or understand me, is it true? Do they not listen to you? Can you absolutely, are you sure that they don't listen to you? That's the first question. Is it true? So you can say, yeah, I feel it's true. So you have to answer it in yes or no only. You cannot say maybe, sometimes, or most of the times. No, not that. That is not allowed for the first question and second question. The second question is it absolutely true? So first question, when you say my spouse should listen to me, that's your statement. First question is it true that they're not listening to you? You can say yes, they're not listening to me. So you go to the second question. Is it absolutely true? When you really look deeply and breathe with it, meditate, really go deeper. Is it true? Is it absolutely true that they've never listened to you? Not at all? They don't listen to you at all? Is it true? No, right? Nobody's absolutely not listening unless they are not able to listen. So we always understand by the second question that it may not be completely true. So again, it's a yes or no question. So you will say yes or no. Whatever the answer, you just authentically be with it, genuinely feel it. These 4 questions are supposed to be very, very meditative. You go deep, you ask each question to your authentic self and answer from deep within yourself. Then, whatever the answer, yes or no, for the second question, you go to the third question. And the third question is, how do you react, or what happens to you when you believe that thought that your spouse doesn't listen to you? This is an example that we are taking. You can take anything that's bothering you, any thought that's bothering you. Because 95% of our problems are with our thoughts only. It's not actually the other person doing something, but more than 90% of the things that bother us, that give us stress, are our thoughts only about others, about what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing. So just question your thoughts, try doing this process, and ask yourself, how do you react, or what happens to you when you believe that thought? So, to make us believe a thought, our mind creates pictures from the past to prove that it is true. Okay, so yeah, so that time I was talking to him and he was reading the newspaper and he was not listening to me, he was not responding. That's why I know that he is not listening to me. So I have a proof that he's not listening to me. All of that. Okay, fine. But what happens to you when you believe this thought that he doesn't listen to me or she doesn't understand me? So you can really see how you respond or how you react. Maybe you get really pissed off. "Oh, why don't you ever listen to me?" And you pick up a fight, or you get really upset and go inside. You give a silent treatment, or you give that look, or something like that. What is your behavior when this happens? You can just think about it, really feel it, remember that situation. What do you do when this thing happens? And then, after you go deep within yourself and understand, answer the third question, then you can go to the fourth question. Who or what would you be without the thought? How would you behave if you are unable to think the thought that they should listen to me? If this thought didn't even exist in your mind, you can also answer your, give your answers in the chat box, so that if you're okay with it, if you're willing to do it, you can also send it in the chat box so that we can all read and know that we're all on the same page. It's not just you, it's not just me. We're together in this. We all have this kind of thoughts, and it's okay. We are dealing with it. So now the fourth question I'll repeat again is, what if you were unable to think the thought that they should listen to me? You are talking and your spouse is reading a newspaper or watching TV, and you feel that they're not listening to you, but you don't have the thought. You're just like asking them again, "Can you please listen to me for a moment? I really have something to share with you." And you're just talking. And how does that feel? When you don't have a thought that they are not listening to you, you just wanted to share what you wanted to share, and you don't expect anything from them. How does that feel to you? Can you feel the difference? When you believe the thought, the third question says, when you believe the thought, how do you feel? The fourth question says, when you don't have the thought, when this thought doesn't exist, how do you feel? So, can you see how much of a difference it makes in just believing and not believing these thoughts? Now comes the turnaround. We should never skip these questions and go to turnaround straight away, because we should really feel it, and it's always best to write it down, all your judgments, all your thoughts, all these answers to these questions. It's always best to write it down and go deep within yourself and sit with each question for as long as you would like, and that would be very, very helpful. So, and then you go to the turnaround. Otherwise, if you directly go to the turnaround, you'll feel like a victim. You'll feel like, oh, is everything wrong with me only? But when you go through all these things, when you realize that, yeah, the thought that I actually thought was true was not true, I got to know in the first two questions. And then when I believe this not true thought, I feel stressful, I feel miserable, I pick a fight. On top of it, and then I realized that when I don't believe this thought, or when I don't have this thought doesn't exist in my mind, then I'm more peaceful, I'm more calm. I'm just doing my own business, I'm minding my own business. I understand maybe the other person that they just need a break. Maybe they don't want to listen right now. So then when you get to this point, you have the turnaround. The turnaround works in three ways. First is turn it around to yourself. My spouse doesn't listen to me. So the first type of turnaround, first type of turnaround is to yourself. I don't listen to me. So now you go back to the first question and ask yourself, is that true? Do I listen to me? Do I listen to myself? Do I listen to my own thoughts? Am I even observing them? Am I listening to my own wishes, my own wants, desires? Am I listening to myself? Am I taking care of myself? Am I understanding myself? This is really, really profound. And so many people realize they don't, because they're constantly focused on other people understanding them, other people listening to them, other people acknowledging them. So this could be really insightful, really deep. And the second type of turnaround could be turn it around to the other. I don't listen to my spouse. Could this be true? You can ask yourself. Maybe sometimes, maybe not all the time, but maybe sometimes. Maybe when you are really upset or you're really preoccupied with your own thoughts, or maybe you were watching something really interesting and you probably missed a few times listening to your spouse. It's also possible, right? So, that could also be true. Maybe you're not listening to your spouse or you're not able to understand them. And the third type of turnaround is to complete opposite. So the first statement is my spouse doesn't listen to me and I don't listen to me. I don't listen to them. And the third turnaround would be they don't listen to them. No, no, not that. So it could be something like they listen to me. Yes, this is the complete opposite. I took a moment. They listen to me. My spouse does listen to me. This is the third type of turnaround. Complete opposite of what you initially wrote down. My spouse does understand me. My mother in law does value me, respect me. Whatever is your first statement, complete opposite. Could this be true? You can ask yourself, could this be true? Do they listen to you sometimes at least? Do they value you, understand you sometimes? If this is true, then the first statement is not always true, right? So whenever you get this thought, you don't need to believe it because it's not always true. Maybe in the moment it may be, but when you don't have that kind of a stressful thought, then you're fine. In fact, when we have this kind of a stressful thought, we distance ourselves from the other person. We distance ourselves and we create gaps in our relationships. Don't you think so? When you answered the third question, I'm sure you all realized how we behave when we believe this kind of thoughts. When we believe that the other person doesn't understand me, how do we behave? How do we react? We give them the silent treatment, we give them the look, we become very angry, upset, shout at them, or we leave, we we become sarcastic sometimes, we do all kinds of things to get their attention. But is that helping? Is that giving you peace of mind? No, right? It never does. So if it doesn't, why do we want to continue it? We don't. So that's the reason we are doing this work. When you do this work, we need to understand that we are not here to change anybody in the world. Change can happen only within ourselves. You can bring change from within. That's all. When you really change from within, you will see that the world also changes. Your world changes because world is relative. Yes. It depends on our own perspective on how the world is. Some people find the world to be very beautiful. Some people find the world to be very terrible, horrible. So it's all our own perspective. All things happen in world. All things, all kinds of things, all kinds of people are there. All kinds of thought patterns are there. Behaviors are there. What do you want to look at? What do you want to choose? Especially in your mind. That is the choice you need to make. That's the choice we need to make for ourselves. And many a times, the thoughts that bother us could be something that we believe are good for the other person. For example, you want someone to quit drinking or smoking because you believe that that's going to be very helpful for them. Of course, it's not good to smoke or drink, but do you absolutely know that that's going to be very good for them? Do you know for sure that they will not be depressed after that? You can always give a suggestion. It's not that I don't mean that I support all of that. I don't. I'm just saying that we cannot change the other person. And this is what I've learned from all the books that I've read and all the courses that I've attended. And it is true, isn't it? Whenever you have tried to tell somebody not to quit smoking, to quit drinking, did they do it? If they did, that's wonderful. If they don't, are you taking the stress? Are you taking the burden? Are you taking the responsibility of changing them? Is that helpful to you or to them? If it is not, then I think you'd better leave them to be. For this, the best example is Katie herself. I have to tell you this, that after she went through this inner transformation within herself, she just became this beautiful, wise, compassionate woman. She doesn't call herself enlightened or very compassionate. She says, I've just become sane. I stopped believing my thoughts, all the random thoughts that come into my head, and I don't become insane by believing those thoughts. Instead, I became sane. That's all. I just started using my common sense. She says. So after that, she became very calm, peaceful, bright, and she's able to accept everything. And her daughter at that time was a teenager or in her 20s, early 20s probably, and she was addicted to drugs. She shared this story in her book. That's the reason I'm able to know it, and I'm also sharing it with you all, because she did. And this is very inspirational, friends. It's not just theory. She actually applied the work in her own personal life, not just for herself, but for her family as well. And at that time, her daughter was a drug addict. She she used to go out every night and come back maybe early in the morning, 4 o'clock, 3:30, 4, 5, anytime. And Katie just used to sit on the sofa couch and wait for her daughter unconditionally, with all the love, not judging her, just to see her daughter one more time. And when she enters, when her daughter comes in, at any time it may be, she'll just give her a loving hug. She never judged her. She never said anything. Not a single word, ki, you should stop all of this, or nothing. No suggestions also. She was just present because she just wants her daughter to come back and be fine. Because you never know what could happen to any person, especially in that condition, right? So sometimes she says she used to have this thought of fear, but she would observe that and she would just question the thought, is that true? And she would do the work for herself and she would be fine. And she did that for a long time, more than a year or two or so. Never judged her daughter, never told her anything, and her daughter just felt the love, and she would just sometimes be so not conscious, and she would just come and sleep wherever there's space. And one day, one morning, as usual, Katie was waiting, and it was early in the morning. Her daughter came back crying. She held her mom, Katie, and she cried for a long time. She didn't say a single word and she didn't even ask. Katie didn't even ask. She just was holding the space for her. She was being with her. And then after a long time, her daughter said, can you help me come out of this? I want to come out of this. Then that is the moment she actually taught her daughter how to do the work. And That is it. After that day, her daughter never went back to the drugs again. Isn't that wonderful? So, what does that prove? Judging, blaming, pointing out, criticizing doesn't work. Only love is what works. I hope that we're all able to sink it in and understand. So, let's go into the meditation. Let's all meditate together, just understanding this, and you can also get more details and go deeper into the work and gain your own insights by reading this book, Loving What Is, and go visit her website also. Okay, so let's just be with this wisdom and meditate together, friends. Let's all close our eyes, sit comfortably. If you're wearing spectacles, you can remove the spectacles, you can clasp your fingers, cross your feet, close your eyes, the gentle smile on your face, and observe your normal, natural breathing. Be with the breath. There's nothing to think about in this moment. We are practicing Anapanasati meditation. If your mind is wandering, gently bring it back to your breath. Thoughts may come and go like passing clouds. Don't stick to them. Don't hang on to them. Let them go. Be an observer. Be with your breath. Normal, natural, gentle breathing. No matter how useful the thought may seem, it's still a thought. And this is not the time to think. This is the time to meditate, to be with the breath. So Bring your awareness gently back to the breath. No matter how your breath is, short or deep, shallow, or however it is, just be with it. Let it be natural. Meditation is not a job, it's not a task. There are no goals. Meditation is being in the moment with the breath, non doing, non thinking, just being in the here and now. Just 10 more minutes. We'll be with our breath. It's a wonderful opportunity to meditate together. Again, if your mind is wandering, gently bring it back to the breath. There's nothing to stress about. It's the nature of the mind to wander. We are training it to come back to the present. So let's be gentle with ourselves. No need of any self-criticism. Last 5 minutes. Give yourself permission to be liberated from your thoughts. We are not tied to our thoughts. Our thoughts don't need to rule our lives. We can take control. We can be aware very gently. Last 2 minutes. Be with your breath. Last 1 minute. Ten seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Gently place your palms on your eyes and slowly open your eyes with a beautiful smile. So, thank you so much, everyone, for being so patient with me here today. In spite of all those network issues and technical issues, you've been with me till the end. And let us just summarize. All right, so the first question is always, whenever there's a stressful thought, ask yourself, is it true what I'm believing? Is it true? Is it, and the second question is it absolutely true? You just want to go within, go connect to yourself deeper and ask yourself to reconfirm if this is true, if I believe this to be true, genuinely, authentically, all the time. Is this like happening all the time? And then the third question is, how do I feel, behave, react? You have to write it down. How do you feel? Okay, I feel so and so, so and so, so and so. How do I behave? So and so, so and so. How do I react? So and so, so. When I believe this thought to be real. So we understand how much stress, suffering, and distance of relationships it's bringing when you believe the thoughts. And then the fourth question is, how do you feel, behave, or react when you don't have this thought, when the thought doesn't exist at all? And you'll understand how you would feel. You just have to meditate with each of the questions and really connect to yourself before you could, really get to the next question. So don't be in a hurry. Do this step by step and please do write it down. It makes a lot of impact when you write it down than doing it in your head. Don't do it in your head. Do write it down. Put it on paper. That makes a lot of difference. Whole lot of a difference. And then turn the first statement around. Okay? And you will know how true it is or how true the opposite is. So you will understand how much you should understand yourself, how much you should love yourself. It's not a should, of course. You're missing yourself, probably. That's the reason you're thinking that others should love you more, others should value you more, or others should take care of. So when Katie used to always think, oh, my children should pick up the socks, then they would never do that. But when she realized that, oh, if I want the house to be clean, I will pick up the socks. And when she started doing it out of joy, not out of an obligation, and she really realized that she actually likes picking up her children's socks because that makes her feel like part of the family. And then after some time, the children started picking their own socks. So isn't that wonderful? So when we are really unconditional, you've also learned or heard about the example of her own daughter who went through the addiction and how Katie has held the space with so much of unconditional love, and that is what truly transformed her daughter. So ultimately, friends, that's what transforms each one of us. No complaint has ever helped anybody. So I hope that me included, all of us are able to follow this and liberate ourselves, free ourselves from these stressful, untrue thoughts and help ourselves, and thus helping everyone around us. Please do listen to this audiobook. I really, really recommend it. Loved it. It's a beautiful experience to listen to this audiobook, Loving What Is. And I hope you will study more about this and help yourselves. Thank you so much. And I really deeply thank each one of you for being so patient, from Beena ji, Nidhi ji, Smita ji. Thank you for calling and telling me about the network issue. And Radhamma Garu, thank you so much. Suresh Kumar Garu and Nidhi Garu, Manoj ji, Madhuri ji, Linita ji, Nidhi ji, Patrick ji, and Abhinand ji, thank you so much. Jyoti ma'am, thank you. Kali Charan ji, thank you so much for joining. Sheetal ji, Aparna ji, Aziz ji, Hemraj Garu, and Srinita ji. It's very nice to have all of you with us, and thank you, Abhinand ji, that I'm so happy to know that it has helped you a lot, and it has really helped me a lot. Listening to this audiobook is a beautiful experience in itself. Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll meet you again next Sunday with Telugu class. New topic, new author, and everything. It's going to be amazing. So, see you again. Thank you so much. Happy Sunday evening to all of you. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I'm so grateful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.